Welcome to Figuring It Out, a podcast designed to help entrepreneurs, creatives, leaders, and marketers to master their crafts, grow their businesses, and find their balance between their personal and professional lives. My name is Kevin England. I am a proud father, a lifelong entrepreneur, and the CEO founder of Amazon, a digital marketing, advertising, and media agency based in Southern California and serving clients worldwide. In each episode, we're going to cover a variety of topics while sharing stories and a wealth of knowledge from myself and other amazing guest speakers. All right, so let's dive in and figure it out together. What I didn't mention, this is my first podcast. And being that this is my first podcast, I thought it would be helpful if I introduce myself and provide you with a little bit of a backstory. All right, so here goes. Ever since I was a kid, I was always like the leader of my pack. And when let's say my tribe would get in trouble, I was the one that the parents blamed. And even though it might have been their kid that did the deed, whatever that deed was, I was the one they always pointed at. And it wasn't always bad, and it wasn't always bad to be the one to point it at. I was just the one, coming up with all the stupid ideas. But that was just it. I was the one coming up with the ideas and finding creative ways to take risks. And it was that risk-taker mentality that's really helped me to strive for, I would say, what is not always obtainable and what others say you just can't do. So it's the ability to take risks and that insatiable drive that I think all of us have, and the ability to persevere that is the nature of many successful, life-changing ventures. Throughout my life, and really up until this point, I've had several very successful businesses, and I'm going to say some not so successful ventures. Although I look at it, throughout my entrepreneurial journey, I really take every day as a learning experience. And usually I learn a lot more from my failures than I do from some of my successes. And as I started my career, my first business was in technology. And now, as I mentioned in the intro, I'm the CEO founder of Amazon. We're a multi-million-dollar digital marketing and media agency. And throughout the years of running these businesses, I've had the sincere pleasure of raising 4 beautiful children. And although I can't take full credit for raising a happy, healthy family, my better half, my wife Jennifer, has been an integral part of our family unit and has really allotted me the freedom to work the long hours that I needed in order to run these variety of different businesses. Although she's taught me a lot. She actually insisted that I would come home for dinner almost every night, read books to our children before they went to bed, and to focus my weekends on their activities and sports. She has truly taught me how to balance both my personal and professional life. Now, my first business actually started really early in life. I was at the age of 13 when my dad walked into my room and gave me my first computer. And back then, I gotta tell you, computers were very different than they are today. They were these big, heavy, clunky things. And I honestly believe this thing was made out of iron or steel. It had to weigh like 35 pounds. And when you turned it on, you would peer into this really small green screen that had to be the size of like an old iPhone, right? and all that would pop up is this little tiny prompt. And later we would look at that as like the A prompt or the C prompt. And it really depended on how it booted up, either from a hard drive or a floppy disk drive. Mine booted from a floppy disk drive over to the side. And I remember as he dropped it on my desk, kind of saying to myself, what the heck am I going to do with this thing? And so I asked him that question, And as I asked him, he smiles and he walks out of my room. And he returned a few minutes later with like a stack of books. What kid wants that, right? And said to me something that I'm never going to forget. And he said, "Son, I'm sure you'll figure it out." And so began what was and has become my personal mantra: figure it out. When I would ask him to define a word, he'd tell me to go check the dictionary. when I would ask him about a historical figure or a certain topic, what did he say? Go look in an encyclopedia or go to the library. And it was truly annoying. But I eventually stopped asking, which I think is what he wanted, and began figuring it out on my own. So I'm sure with that, you can probably tell why I've named this podcast Figuring It Out, because it represents my total approach to life. And that's what I did with the computer. I figured it out. You know, I read those books. I went to the library. I taught myself how to write code and develop applications and software, different software applications. I first started with games for my friends, which was totally fun. And then my dad saw that I had this knack for the computer and kind of brokered some deals with some of his business colleagues. And I developed out forms, and I wrote small applications, and I even wrote some larger applications for like the accounting industry, Julie applications, and I even wrote a CRM. And the great thing about all of that, like lo and behold, right? I got paid. Hell of a lot better than a paper route at the age of 13 years old, right? And I got paid well. I think he got more, but that's okay. But I got paid well for doing that throughout high school. And so when I went off to college, I, of course, focused on technology and focused on a computer science degree at UC Santa Barbara. And it wasn't until my second year in that my girlfriend comes to me and tells me she's pregnant and we're going to have a baby. Now, nothing will light a fire under your ass more than finding out you're going to be a parent, especially at the age of 19. That's like your holy shit moment, right? So I had to pivot. I had to stop, unfortunately, partying, and I had to determine, how I could stay in school and then find a way to support a family. And it was at that moment I really started my first real business venture, which was providing technology-based support services to small and mid-sized corporations in Southern California. The main reason, of course, was to support a family. But since I hadn't got a degree, I really did need to find something that could pay me a decent hourly rate for the work that I was doing. And obviously working at a local, burger joint or something else or at a hotel wasn't going to do that for me. This was, in my life, my true figuring it out moment, because I had absolutely no idea what I was doing first as a parent, but I had no idea what it was to run a business. What did I know about accounting, human resources, sales, marketing at the age of, 20 years old at this point? I had absolutely no idea. But what I did know is I could figure it out, because that's what my father had pounded into my brain my entire life. So I did exactly that. I read a lot. I listened, and I learned from those who had built successful businesses, and I worked a lot of hours, all while trying to finish my education and raise a family. And so, long story short, that business that I started out of college, and eventually it evolved into a 100-person plus corporation doing tens of millions of dollars in revenue. And eventually I sold it, I'll say, to a undisclosed multinational computer company. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and I'm very excited to be able to share some of those lessons with you so that you can navigate your own personal and professional journey. So between the IT group and Vonazon, and by the way, the IT group was the name of my first business. I had tried my hand at a bunch of different ventures, but nothing really took off until I was at a trade show in Las Vegas, and I was meeting with some old colleagues that were really asking for my advice on how to increase return on investment in a trade show. And just to give you some insight, companies will spend an absolute fortune on a 3 to 4 day show that they're not able to really generate the type of revenue that they need to justify the event. Crazy, right? And we've all seen this, right? We've been to these big, beautiful, energetic, exciting trade shows and events where a lot of money is spent, but not necessarily recouped. So out of my passion to help my friends and colleagues, my most recent venture, Vonazon, was born. And just to give you some insight, what we did initially was to create a digital connection to an in-person event that basically extended the sales and marketing strategy beyond the 3 or 4 days of the show and over a multi-month process. I could go on forever and talk to you about so many different things, but what I would like to do is I want to share with you some of these things over a period of time. And so I hope that you will tune in to future episodes where we can together explore more about what it takes to be successful, both in business as well as in life. This podcast is something that has been, I would say, a long time in the making. I can't tell you how excited and honored I am to be able to spend this time with you. So until next time, I am Kevin England, and keep figuring it out.